What a headshot! What a head!
How's it guys, this is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, I will take you guys to the ultimate guide to the upcoming Game Week 26. So Game Week 26 has turned from a normal game week into a wildcard game week. FPL Twitter has absolutely exploded with wildcard drafts. I made one yesterday if you guys want to go check that video out. But we do still have the FA Cup games happening tonight, as well as the FA Cup draw for the next round. Added to that, we also have double Game Week 25 concluding tonight. Will Salah bang or Darwin even start? Who kind of knows? But it looks like most people actually want to get those Liverpool assets out of their teams. Now going back to this ultimate guide, as I always go over, I'm going to go over the stats. I think the stats review is going to be super useful this week, just because everyone's going to be on the wildcard, so do the stats back up your wildcard selections. Then I'm going to move on to the actual wildcard debate, give you guys some insights into why you should wildcard and why you shouldn't, and small things to watch out for when you're making those drafts. And then finally, to conclude the video, as you always do, going to go over captaincy. This week is a super interesting week. Do you go safe with Erling Haaland, or is there a nice differential option that has a better fixture? If that's something you guys are interested in, sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So going on to the stats review, and as mentioned in the introduction, a super useful week. The stats are always useful to kind of take note of, but in a wildcard week, you want to look at the stats to back up those decisions. So as I always do, I'm going to go over the attacking and then the defensive stats, going over the good sides, then the bad sides, to give you guys a nice holistic overview of the stats over the entire season and also over the last 6 game weeks. Now before we go into the stats, I want to give you guys a little bit of a note about the last 6 game weeks. Now some teams have actually played more fixtures, some teams have played less because of the blanks and the doubles, and therefore I've gone for a minimum of 6 game weeks. However, some teams have actually played a maximum of 8. But don't worry, the stats are per game averages, so you guys will be getting the same stats for all teams, but obviously if they've played more games and they're higher up, that's going to mean that team is obviously better. So an example of this will be covered in the XG non-penalty. That's going to be the attacking stat of choice. I know penalties are quite useful, give you guys a metric to kind of go for more attacking options, but we're not really looking at players here, we're looking at teams. So I'll be going over the non-penalty variant to give you guys a bit of a more normalized score. I'm going to start off with the entire season on the left-hand side. So Man City currently leading with 1.95 XG per game over the entire season, followed by Liverpool, Arsenal, and then finally Brighton. Now Brighton, Newcastle, and United are going to be heavily focused on because you might want to get some of these players into your teams, especially those Brighton assets that double in Game Week 27. Now I'm going to bring up on the right hand side the last 6 game weeks. Brighton have played I think 6 game weeks, whereas Man City have played about 8. So just keep that in mind when you do see that massive 2.3 XG per game. But I guess we can back this up because on the left hand side over the entire season, Brighton's attack has been pretty strong, so this shows that they have improved over the last couple game weeks. So definitely consider them if you guys are looking to bring in those assets, and now you guys can see why you might prefer to go for 2 midfielders over 2 defenders from that Brighton side. Man City are still ticking along nicely. Man United, Liverpool, Arsenal, and Newcastle are also pretty reliable, as most of these sides are kind of in the top half of the Prem. Now the one thing I want you guys to note is going to be the top 3 of the entire season, Man City, Liverpool, and Arsenal, because Arsenal, I've seen maybe 2 of their attackers on some people's wildcard drafts. Mo Salah hasn't been in many people's drafts, Darwin neither, but could a Mo Salah punt next game against Bournemouth at home be a better option? Same thing we said about Man City, great attack, best attack in the Prem, but I guess with the rotation of their forwards, we might look to go for more secured options. But the big takeaway for me here is how good Brighton have been, so definitely target that attack. Now, would I have liked to see a Brentford here? Yes, I would have. This does worry me slightly after going for an Ivan Toney, but his stats from a personal point of view still look pretty good. And now going to the worst XG non-penalty teams, and these two are going to be teams to kind of target or avoid from an attacking point of view, but I'm pretty sure most of these sides you won't be looking at too much on a wildcard. On the left-hand side over the entire season, Bournemouth have the worst attack, and that's why if your team is playing them, it's almost a locked-in clean sheet, unless your goalkeeper is Edison. No offense to you Edison owners and your Kanji owners, but as an Ake owner, I was quite happy because at least he kept a clean sheet last game week. We then have Wolves, Southampton, Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest, and then finally Everton, but as mentioned earlier on, none of us are looking at these attackers. Now over the last 6 game weeks, at a minimum, we do have Fulham here, 0.71, but I'm pretty sure most of you would have sold Mitrovic anyways, but definitely a dip off in attacking form for them over the past couple game weeks. We then have the usual suspects from the left-hand side just rearranged in a different order, so definitely don't target any of these sides because over the entire season they've been pretty bad, even over the last 6 game weeks. And now that we've gone over the attacking stats, let's go over the defensive stats. Slightly less exciting, but still pretty good to go over, but I think the defense on a wildcard pretty much picks itself. Now there are 1 or 2 positions that you guys might not be kind of certain on, so let's go over these XG conceded stats. So over the entire season, Arsenal have the best defense, 0.89, followed closely by Man City. We then have Newcastle with just under 1 XG per game, and then West Ham, United, and then Chelsea. Now I'm going to bring up the right hand side over the last 6 game weeks. At a minimum, Chelsea are at the top. We then have Brentford, Leeds, West Ham, Brighton, and then finally Man City. So just keep in mind over the last 6 games, these could have been easier fixtures, and therefore the sides could have better defenses. But definitely I'm favouring that Brentford defence at the moment, 0.86 XG over the last 6. That's pretty strong, to be honest. Now Chelsea are a little bit of a weird one here because I think most of us are looking to either keep Kepa or sell Kepa or maybe even bring in a Reece James, and they could be a good target to go for from a defensive point of view. However, with the news that Thiago Silva will be out for the medium term, I think I might stick clear of that double up even. Now West Ham are interesting one here because over the entire season they've been pretty strong defensively, even over the last 6 game weeks, and therefore if you guys want to go for a kind of punt on a West Ham defender, might not be the worst thing in the world. Otherwise, nice to see that Brighton and Brentford are both on the right hand list, because I'm pretty sure most of us will be going for double ups, or maybe even someone will go for a triple up. But going on to the bad defenses, on the left hand side is going to be the entire season, Fulham at the top with 1.7, followed by Bournemouth and Nottingham Forest. So no surprise here, generally the newly promoted sides are pretty bad, and unfortunately that's pretty true this season. We then have Everton, and don't ask me why I own 2 Everton defenders at the moment, but under Sean Dyche, I'm just hoping that they improve. Then finally we have Aston Villa and Liverpool. Some of you guys do own those Aston Villa options, definitely own those Liverpool options, and now I can understand why you guys might want to wildcard Trent out. Now going to the right hand side, Aston Villa with just under 2 XG conceded per game, pretty bad. Bournemouth with 1.93 though. We then have Leicester, Everton, Liverpool, and then finally Crystal Palace. So Liverpool yet again showing why Trent might not be the best option to get in. Now Leicester's a little bit of an interesting one there as well because I did think that they actually improved defensively. Danny Ward might be even an option to start this game week, but now that I've seen their XG conceded per game over the last 6, I'm not too confident of actually keeping him. So that's going to kind of wrap up the stats debate. You guys would have seen that Brighton and Brentford are looking pretty good. That's backing up our selections and might be a reason to actually wildcard so we can jump on these assets and get a triple up. But you guys let me know what stat kind of pointed out to you. Is it the Liverpool defense being so bad still? Is it the Brighton attack being so good? And has the stats changed your mind about any selections? If you guys do want to see any more stats, go over to Fantasy Football Fix. That's where I got these stats from. Go over to their Opta Stats Sandbox and you can choose whatever stat your heart desires. Now before we get into the actual wildcard debate, I want to give you guys a quick reminder that the FA Cup draw will be happening tonight. After the last FA Cup game has concluded, I think it's going to be the Spurs game. So after that game has finished, we'll be getting the FA Cup drawn, and obviously that has a big effect on blank game week 32. The reason that's going to be a big case is whoever wins in the next round of the FA Cup, that's going to be blank game week 28 will blank in game week 32. Let's for example just say that Man City will be facing Manchester United or something like that. Whoever loses that game will have a fixture in blank game week 32. So we can then make some predictions. For example, if Man City get an easy draw, we might say that Man City will probably progress to the next round, so we can expect them to blank. So that's why I would wait and hold off on your ship strategy for after today. So come Thursday, Friday, you guys can plan to your heart's desire. But the FA Cup draw is going to be quite integral. Then obviously we do have the games tonight happening. Liverpool taking on Wolves, Everton taking on Arsenal. Don't think that's going to impact our minds too much, but there might be some injuries there that might sway your mind on the wild card. So all I'm saying here is just keep track of the football happening tonight and the draws happening tonight, but I'll update you guys on the team selection tomorrow anyways. So now going to the main talking point of this wildcard guide, I'm going to be talking about why you guys should wildcard, why you guys shouldn't. And don't worry, I'm not going to be talking as fast to this talking point as I usually do. So there's been some big news that happened last night in the FA Cup that has changed my mind about the wildcard in Game Week 26 or Game Week 27. So that big news was going to come out of the FA Cup results. We had Fulham beating Leeds, therefore Liverpool have a blank in Game Week 28, and Wolves vs Leeds is going to be a confirmed fixture. But the bigger news came from that Leicester loss to Blackburn, so because they lost, Brentford vs Leicester is now a confirmed game in blank Game Week 28. While that's big news, I'm going to bring up the fixture schedule right now from Ben Crellin. I always say shout out to Ben Crellin, recommend you guys follow him. Probably the best FPL asset to have on FPL Twitter, and I'm going to use his graphic of his fixture schedule up till Game Week 34. So as you guys can see, fourth row from the top is going to be Brentford's fixtures. They have a double in 27, a confirmed fixture against Leicester in 28, then a double in 29 as well. So if you guys do choose to wildcard in Game Week 26 and 27, you can get that triple up. And the biggest thing that's come out of this fixture of Leicester vs Brentford is the fact that you don't have to use the free hit if you wildcard in 26 or 27. So if you guys do recall, that was kind of the big debate to go over. Should you guys wildcard now, free at 28, have that team in 29 that you had previously? But because of that Brentford game now, we don't necessarily have to use the free hit. So you can save that free hit for blank Game Week 32, double Game Week 34, double Game Week 37, and that's changed the strategy completely because now you can escape the blank. So if you guys don't understand that talking point, comment it down below, but basically all I'm saying is that now that Brentford have a fixture in 28, because we already own 3 of their assets on the wild card, we can carry them through all the way to probably the end of the season even. So massive kind of gain has come about in that talking point, because to be honest, I think the main difference between these two strategies of wildcarding in 33 or wildcarding 26, 27 was the fact that you could save the free hit. So the big pro I think about wildcarding right now is the fact that you can take advantage of 2 double game weeks and a blank game week, obviously talking about 27, 28 and 29, and I'll navigate 30 onwards with the free hit in hand. That was the big thing about wildcarding kind of early as well, is that everyone was saying that it's going to be quite hard to navigate the blanks and the doubles coming up from game week 30 onwards, but now with the free hit in your back pocket, it changes the game completely. Now yes, we don't exactly know the schedule of Game Week 32 yet, and that's why I said it's integral. Please wait for that FA Cup draw so we can do our predictions, and that'll even give us some insight into the potential doubles in 34 and 37. But those doubles will probably be an unknown until after the wildcard has been used, so unfortunately we can't really prepare for them, but you guys might even be able to use the free hit in those doubles. So let's say that you guys do wildcard in 26. Let's kind of make up a team quickly. The template, if you guys didn't see my wildcard draft, definitely you'll have 3 Brighton, definitely you'll have 3 Brentford, you'll have some Man United in there, maybe some Chelsea if you want some different flavors, 1 or 2 Newcastle players, and then maybe a few differentials. Now Arsenal also be an integral team to that side, as they have lovely fixtures and have a fixture in blank Game Week 28. Then come Game Week 29, probably will transfer out an Odegaard and Nketiah, whoever you guys do own, for another double Game Week 29 option. But the 2 teams that I want to focus on are going to be Brentford and Brighton, because those 2 assets obviously have the 2 doubles in 3 game weeks, and then Brentford also have the fixture in 28. So after double Game Week 29, we also have to focus on those fixtures because we want to make sure that our team is set up for the future. So Brentford have Newcastle at home, Wolves at away, and then a confirmed game against Aston Villa at home in 32. So to be honest, those teams look pretty strong, and then Brighton have some tougher games though, but you can always transfer them out after double Game Week 29. Another team to focus on is going to be United, because most of us don't own these United assets anymore. We jumped off of them because of the blank fixture, but now we want them back in because we've seen how bad Liverpool are. So you'll get that Liverpool game, that Southampton game, and then the double in 29, and then you can keep them from then onwards. Man City, another team, but I can't really recommend any other Man City assets to actually get. Just think about it, I own an Ake, I own a Mahrez, and I want to transfer them out because none of their options are nailed besides Erling Haaland. So for me, even though Man City have some great fixtures, and that might be the big talking point about wildcarding in Game Week 33, is you can get a triple up before they double, but you can do that anyways with free transfers. The fact that you have United assets, the fact that you might have Liverpool assets with the Mo Salah in 27, and because you have so much money in the bank, as mentioned in the wildcard draft yesterday, I think an upgrade to a Man City midfielder, a Man City defender should be quite easy. So to be honest, I'm slightly leaning towards actually using the wildcard in Game Week 26 or 27 because, as mentioned earlier on, you guys can take advantage of 2 double game weeks and a blank game week, get the best team possible for those 3 game weeks, and still have a free hit to address the future doubles or blanks. But as I always say, the wildcard is super situational, very team dependent, so what I would do, this is kind of the main rule for any wildcard, is make a wildcard draft right now, see how many players are consistent between the 2 drafts, and if you only want to change a few options, then probably keep the wildcard in your back pocket. But I think the majority of you will probably have about 7-8 options that you want to take out, like myself, and that's perfectly fine. The fact that you guys took hits doesn't matter. I took a -8 in Game Week 25. I brought in 2 Everton defenders. I'll probably take them out straight away. The fact is, we don't have this information that we did in Game Week 25. Now that Game Week 26 has come, we can finalize our chip strategy. So don't think about it. Just because you use the -12, you can't use the wild card. As long as your team is going to get better, that's all that matters. But as I said, please wait for the FA Cup to actually conclude tonight. We're going to have that draw. We can predict Game Week 32. Maybe Game Week 32 is going to be a nightmare of a game week to navigate. Then we might prolong the wildcard to deal with Game Week 34 and 37. But we'll see how it goes tonight, and then I'll update you guys on the team selection tomorrow. But right now, I'm probably about a 70-30% of actually using the chip. Comment down below what your guys' thoughts are. Did I miss anything? Is there any kind of big reason why you guys aren't wildcarding or are wildcarding? And if you're on the wildcard right now, what's the latest draft looking like? Now the final talking point, as we always do, is going to be all about captaincy. Now right now there is a little bit of a mix of captain options in my opinion. The first one I want to talk about is going to be Erling Haaland because I think he's been the safest option this week. Was rested in the FA Cup, should be starting on the weekend, but he does have the early kickoff. So you guys know what they say about the early kickoff, never back the early kickoff, and that's exactly what Haaland has against Newcastle at home. But to be honest, probably the best FPL asset in the game, had a 10-pointer last week, and most people probably still captain him. But if you guys do want to go differential, I think this is definitely the week to actually go differential. Yes, Newcastle's defense is pretty strong, but it has gotten worse. But if you still want to take a punt, I think there are 2 other options. The first option I want to talk about on the left-hand side of Haaland is going to be Marcus Rashford against that Liverpool side at Anfield. Now don't let that away game threaten you at all. I can promise you, as a Liverpool fan, I'm absolutely shaking my boots for this fixture because United are on red-hot form and Liverpool are simply terrible. So don't me to say this, but Marcus Rashford could be a captain option, and I might actually do this to kind of nullify the pain if we do lose on the weekend, because I'm pretty sure Marcus Rashford will get a goal. But if you also want to go for another option, Bukayo Saka against Bournemouth at home is probably my favourite option this week. Bournemouth are conceding goals for fun, Arsenal look pretty strong, and they have to keep on winning games if they want to win the title. So let's see how the game goes tonight, that Everton at home game. If Saka looks pretty strong and Arsenal looking pretty good, he might be my favourite option to actually go for. But out of these 3, let's go over the projected points. And these are obviously going to be from Fantasy Football Fix. These don't take expected minutes into account, but I'm pretty sure all 3 of these options will get the majority of minutes in Game Week 26. So Bukayo Saka is actually the favourite option of the game week, 6.4 projected points. Erling Haaland comes in second with 5.4, and finally Rashford with 3.4. So to be honest, I don't really agree with that Rashford projection. I think he should be higher, similar to kind of a Haaland projection. And I do think the algorithm that Fix uses is taking a historical defensive form of that Liverpool side. So let me just ignore that projected points of Rashford. I think he's on par with maybe a Haaland, but it's quite interesting to see that Saka is the favorite option on most projection websites. So yet again, comment down below who's your captain going into Game Week 26. You guys can wait and comment it tomorrow if you want to see how Saka plays tonight. But currently, I'm on Haaland from a safety point of view, but Saka's tempting me, to be honest. But that's basically wrap for the video, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like if you didn't, subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. I will see you guys for the team selection tomorrow after the games tonight, the FA Cup, and also that Prem fixtures. I'm myself, Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers, bye.